heard the contradictory rumors. AI is taking everyone's jobs. AI is not why layoffs are happening. AI agents are going to do everything. The world is ending. According to Challenger, Gray, and Christmas, there have been over 101,743 job cuts in the first 6 months of 2026, which is nearly double 2025's 54,836 job cuts for the whole year. May alone takes up 40% of the layoffs for the whole year, with 38,579 jobs. This stuff is ugly. And if you're looking at the job market and you're like, why is everybody being laid off? It's happening. It's really happening. This is really getting really crazy, right? But at the same time, 32% of hiring managers have rehired the employees they previously cut, and 55% said that cutting as many people as they did was a mistake. Why is that happening? Well, we've got some execs at the top who are saying fire people, and we have some HR people who are saying that was a bad idea. Why did we do that? These companies aren't making decisions based off of how well their AI systems are actually performing. According to Harvard Business Review's survey of over 1,000 global executives, 60% had already cut jobs in anticipation of what AI might eventually do, but only 2% said that those cuts were tied to AI actually doing the work. Heck, I partially lived this experience right when this phenomena was beginning. I helped sell an AI startup called Datavolo to Snowflake back in 2024. And when we did, their stock price shot up by over 30% in one day. It was their largest stock price increase ever, and the largest increase that they had had just in general in the previous couple of years. Since then, we have seen a lot of companies trying to replicate these sort of stock market magic tricks. Allbirds transitioning from a shoe company to an AI company. Yikes. These companies are making short-term decisions with the hope that it's going to magically solve everything for them without necessarily considering the long-term effects. And following these hype cycles is typically not a good idea, especially when you don't understand how to utilize the technologies that are fueling the hype to begin with. So you're not imagining it. There have been a ton of layoffs in the US this year, but were they caused by AI? Sort of. Well, the reality is executives across the map are completely spooked by AI. They believe it's important, they don't understand it, and the changes that AI has caused in their industries have made profound impacts on their businesses. Now, of course, this isn't an even line across every business, but every industry has been affected this in some way. Take a look at marketing companies who are trying to figure out how to navigate the fact that Google SEO is no longer basically a thing, question mark. The way that Google search functions and a lot of these search platforms functions has completely changed. And with that, the user behavior has changed. More people are starting to search for things on AI platforms than on search engines. And 60% of people who are using search engines are not clicking on the links like they used to if they were originally looking for those answers, right? Because the AI is just giving them the answers without any of these users needing to click on those websites. So if you're looking at marketing and in paid search in that particular category, that whole world has gone completely upside down. And some businesses are doing a great job with it, and others are really, really, really struggling. But at the end of the day, why are these layoffs happening? Well, it's the economy, stupid. AI is the hot buzzword of the moment that gets investors excited to spend cash, no matter what each company's track record with AI actually is. This is definitely a bubble. And what we are seeing, in addition to an AI bubble, is a massive tightening of the market due to other macroeconomic factors, right? Business leaders are terrified and confused. They know that we're in an inflection point with, yes, AI, but also tariffs, which, yes, I know people aren't talking about, but they still exist. The war that maybe isn't a war in Iran, the energy crisis, and now apparently explosive surprise diarrhea here in the US, because we love shitty surprises here in the US. Things are crazy right now. And the only reason that the stock market is still booming is because the top performing companies in the world have all successfully pivoted from being consumer driven to being B2B driven or basically making their money from other companies. Think about it. Sure, Meta creates consumer products like Facebook and Instagram, but their business model is all focused on ads, ad revenue for other businesses. Google, same thing. Microsoft, same thing. They own the traditional enterprise tech stack. And now NVIDIA is selling computer chips to all of these companies. Our stock market growth right now is extremely tightly focused on just a handful of companies who are doing exceptionally well. And these companies have successfully detached themselves from consumers on the ground. And as long as these big companies are still making enough money from selling to one another, our stock market is going to continue to become less and less relevant to what is actually happening on the ground with regular people. Experts have been saying for years now that what we're experiencing is a K-shaped economy, an economy where the super rich or the biggest companies are growing like crazy and everyone else is just struggling to get by. Things are going down. And the stats around this are actually super, super interesting. So the unemployment rate in general is around 4%, 4.2% as of June of 2026. The unemployment rate for undergrads, as we all know, is higher. It sits around 5.6 to 5.7%, which is above the national rate for the first time in decades. The thing with the US is that our unemployment rate is actually tied to how many people are filing for unemployment every single week, regardless of whether people have run out of their unemployment. That means that if your unemployment has run out, you're no longer counted. Or if you failed to file for unemployment for whatever reason, you don't count. Or if you decided to leave the workforce altogether, you don't count. And one of the biggest indicators that we're seeing that the unemployment rate is probably much higher than anticipated is that the labor participation rate right now in the US is at 61.5% in June of 2026, which is the lowest in 50 years outside of COVID. All right. And the National Women's Law Center reports that over 300,000 women have left the workforce in 2026, which is a massive increase compared to many, many, many years looking far back, right? In addition to that, the underemployed rate is higher than one might expect too, right? The underemployed rate is around 7.9% for all workers, but it's as high as 42% for recent grads. 42%. This is really crazy, you guys. And business applications are up 17.2% year over year in 2026. I think there have been bigger increases in the last couple of years when it comes to business applications, but it is still a significant increase in the last year. So if all of this is true, then does that mean we're in a recession? Well, technically no. Recessions are typically characterized by 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth alongside rising unemployment, falling retail sales, and shrinking personal incomes. But because the stock market continues to skyrocket, the GDP remains up, and because our official unemployment rate is so low, that doesn't count either. Basically, the way economists look at the entire economic picture is by looking at the entire economic picture. The crazy part of this whole situation, though, is that companies who are actually doing well with AI are not laying off employees. In fact, they're doing the exact opposite. Let's take AI startups to start. Obviously, they're all booming. Anthropic grew from 800 employees or so in early 2024 to over 3,000 employees by the end of 2025. And OpenAI grew from 770 employees in 2023 to 7,850-ish with a target of 8,000 by the end of 2026. These, of course, are the biggest companies, but we are still seeing a lot of jobs open at different AI startups, especially in the Bay Area. A 2026 study linking Ramp corporate AI spending to Revelio Labs workforce records found that companies investing heavily in AI grew headcount by over 10% over the 2 years after adoption, with entry-level hiring growing even faster at 12%. Light adopters saw no change either way. And PwC's 2026 Global AI Jobs Barometer, analyzing over 1 billion job ads across 6 continents, found that companies most exposed to AI are raising both wages and headcount faster than companies least exposed to it. And of course, getting a lot of investment is part of this, but the productivity rates are going way, way up. Some of these companies, yes, are not necessarily making money yet, and that's, the silly wibbly wobbly world of startups for you. And if you look at this most recent quarter's productivity gains, just in the amount of code produced by each engineer at Anthropic, it is up over 8 times what it was a year ago. This stuff is absolutely bananas. And anecdotally, I'm finding a lot of small consulting firms right here in Minneapolis, where I'm based, are also hiring, growing, and things are going really, really well. They recognize that, yes, AI can take over a lot of different types of work, but that employees who are really good at using AI tools and getting more employees who are really good at using AI tools is helping them scale faster. Just using AI tools and having a handful of people is very stressful, people. We still need people. And that's why I tend to be suspicious when I hear about tech companies and layoffs due to AI efficiencies. One of the big tech giants that I am most suspicious of in this category, as always, is Meta. Meta has invested an incredible amount of cash into AI without much to show for it. In fact, Meta keeps bragging about how many layoffs they're doing due to AI efficiencies after hiring some of the top machine learning engineers in the world, even though one by one, they keep leaving. At least 8 members of Meta's new superintelligence lab unit have quit since it launched just a few short months ago, several jumping straight over to OpenAI and Anthropic. Meta, out of all of these AI companies, seems the most paranoid about how far behind they are by creating employee monitoring systems that over 1,600 employees signed a petition against, tracking their employees' work at all times. Not only that, but they also reassigned many of their top engineers to help train their AI models by creating all these and completing all these little quizzes, these little games, which caused some of the worst internal backlash in the company that they have ever had. Some of Meta's leadership said it was even worse than Cambridge Analytica. What? Meta, just in general, I feel like keeps striking out after striking out and striking out. And yes, they have some really cool research, especially about reading people's brains and things like that, which is really crazy, and building these brain models, basically evaluating how to create even more addictive videos, which is more scary than anything else. But they just keep focusing on the wrong things. They have all the money in the world, they have all the talent in the world, and none of the ideas. They just keep coming out with the worst ideas. Heck, they just got lambasted by Hollywood for making any Instagram or Facebook account that's public usable in creating AI generated images and videos, which, like, thank God for Hollywood, but like, what? They did that for everybody without making it easy for everyone to opt out of it. Most people didn't know about this. This stuff is crazy. And conversely, again, the companies who are doing AI well are actually focused on solving real problems that their businesses or their customers have. One of my favorite stories about companies doing well with AI is IKEA. Now, if you've heard me say it before, I'm sorry. But for those of you who've never heard it before, you need to hear about this. IKEA upskilled 8,500 of their customer support team members and turned them into interior design specialists after its customer support chatbot took over 47% of customer inquiries, which generated an estimated $1.4 billion in new revenue with 0 layoffs from that shift. Why did they do this? Well, because they were looking at their call transcript data, their customer support transcript data, and they found that their customers who were looking to buy furniture online were asking for interior design help. They found a significant portion of the amount of inbound that they were getting was from people who were trying to order couches from home saying, I don't know if I want the green one or the blue one. Can you help? And then those customer support people were able to upsell and say, oh yeah, you should get this one and this one. And so they took what I'm guessing was probably the most fun part of the customer support people's jobs and turned it into an entirely new role where everyone suddenly became interior design specialists. Can you imagine? I am somebody who has had to work in call centers before. I have had to answer an ungodly amount of calls where people yelled at me all day. And to be able to pivot into, I'm going to be a designer for all these cool people. My God, what magical news. So is AI taking all of our jobs today? No. Are companies making lousy short-term decisions because they're unprepared and they're scared about their futures? Absolutely. So what do we actually do with this information? Well, I have a few thoughts for job seekers and business leaders that I'd like to share today. First, for job seekers, It's going to sound really annoying, but keep your resume and your LinkedIn up to date and warm. Keep your network warm. And yeah, learn AI tools, even if you don't love them. Okay. You don't need to be a power user. I don't need you to love AI, but watch a few tutorials and understand what AI actually does today. Because it's a lot more than just a basic little chatbot. Anybody, no matter what your background is, whether you're an engineer or whether you're a former comedian like me, can now build websites and AI agents like that to complete digital tasks for you. And if you don't know how to use these tools, you are putting yourselves at a disadvantage. And at a bare minimum, if you really don't like AI, just learn and understand what these different tools are and what they can do and what the positives are, so that if you're going to protest against them, you can actually be educated and informed. It is not just chatbots anymore, everybody. Things are going crazy out there, okay? Also, if your old company laid you off and you still really like them, you still got a lot of people there, it may not be a bad idea to go and check them out, because a lot of these companies are realizing that they messed up and they're rehiring their old employees. So definitely something to look into. But honestly, job hunters, I love you. But you are not exactly who I want to talk to right now. I really want to talk to business leaders, maybe policy people, but if you're an executive, I want you to realize that there's much, much more that you can do with AI tools other than just like mass laying off large numbers of your employees, okay? Instead, it's all about going back to basics, right? Go identify your company's biggest problems and then see if there are potential AI solutions or other solutions that you could implement that would make a big difference. And oftentimes it's the most boring problems and the most boring solutions that make the biggest impact. Think like IKEA. They didn't fire their customer support team after automating half of their work, right? They realized that those employees, the creative communicators and incredible problem solvers, were the exact right individuals who could help build a new department and hit over $1 billion in their first year. Thinking strategically, thoughtfully, and not rushing decisions is key. The reality is there are some really cool things that you can do with AI. There's a lot of ways that you can grow and scale your business with AI, which is super cool. And just firing everyone, God, get a better imagination, folks. All right. And that's our show. Thank you so much for watching the latest Swift Start Go podcast episode, YouTube episode. I'm not quite sure what this was. Let me know if you like this format. We're mixing up some things around here. And this was supposed to be like an outline that I would refer to. And I kind of just read it like a script. I don't know. Do I need a teleprompter? I don't know if I want to do that. Whatever it is. If you listen for this long, please let me know what you liked. And please feel free to like, subscribe, no matter where you're watching this, whether it's YouTube or a podcast or I don't know, Substack. My name's Carolyn Holden, and I hope that you are having a fantastic day. And I gotta go. Bye.